Relay FM. This is Connected, episode 404. Today's show is brought to you by Pocket Casts, Sourcegraph, and Electric. My name is Myke Hurley, and I'm joined by Federico Vitici. Hi, Federico.
Hello, my beautiful friend. How are you?
Oh, hi. Now I'm in a good mood.
Yeah, you should be. You good? How you feeling? How are things?
I'm good.
You good? Awesome.
Yeah.
We're also joined by handsome man from Tennessee, Mr. Stephen Hackett. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, boys.
How are you?
I'm good.
We just did some very special pre-show for Connected Pro members where Stephen was very active in terms of content. So if you want to hear a lot from Stephen, make sure to sign up for Connected Pro because you can hear Stephen talk for 10 minutes.
Non-stop.
It was non-stop. Really, we needed to stop the guy because he just kept going.
He wouldn't shut up.
Yeah.
So we had to start the show. GetConnectedPro.co.
We have some follow-up we need to contend with.
Oh, okay.
Jen wrote in, there's a grave error in the Bill of Rickies, as read on air. The Annies do not actually refer to the annual Rickies. Rather, they were designated as the gamified year in review, wherein months are judged on the Tichy scale. So, just to put some...
I also had this thought, Federico, when I read this. I was like, we didn't do that. Yes,
What?
we did.
Yeah.
So last year for the year in review episode, we graded every month on the Chi-Chi scale from Nightmare to
you're
Best I
right.
Love You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are right.
So what we need to... It's actually a very simple fix in the Bill of Rickies. All we have to do is pull out the phrase, a.k.a. the Annies, and the
It's
Bill of
not
Rickies
in there.
stands. Yes, it is. It's in the preamble.
Oh, so it's not actually in the Bill of Rickies.
Right.
This is why Jen's follow-up is so good, because they mentioned as read on air. It's not in the published public version of the Bill of Rickies.
Really...
So, and also another thing for great follow-up from Jen, the second part is the game was played in episode 378, but was also named in 379 follow-up as well. Supposedly, this is in the Google Doc. I kept expecting someone to bring up this oversight, but this episode, it was brought up again. So what I like about this is Jen first thought, that was just a mistake. I'll let him go. But we did it again. So they're like, all right, I kind of let this stand. And then they wrote in, you know?
Jen came with the receipts, as the kids say.
Yeah, because the tweet also had a link to the episode where we spoke about
So, Jen, thank you. I've corrected the preamble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the last episode, Kate was named the official historian of Relay FM, a title, by the way, that we had given them previously on a live stream. So,
Jeez, are you being serious? What is wrong with us?
I don't know.
Who told you that? Did Kate tell you that?
Kate told us that.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe Jen can be the parliamentarian, maybe.
Okay. Can we create a special category in the members Discord sidebar that says historian and just put Kate in there? Like we do with OTJ?
Yes.
All right.
If there's any mods listening, can you just go do that for me?
Kate, don't do it yourself because that feels kind of sad, really. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I think Zach's
It's like the Obama with the medal on Obama meme. It's like that.
Yes, I love that.
So the additional thing is I put a screenshot in our show document, which is a screenshot of our show document, which says the Annies, the annual year in review. Months are graded on the Tichy scale, with inferior minus being the lowest possible score. Nightmares, quote, you know it when you see it. So we'll be doing that again at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of makes sense. The annual Rickies should not have its own name, right? Because then it would have to be the Annies and the Keenies, right? Because why would the Keynote Rickies not have their own name as well? They're all just the Rickies. Some are for keynotes and special events, and one is for the annuals. It's all the Rickies. So I'm happy that Jen wrote in because this needed to be addressed.
Look, we're stuck in a web of our own making with this podcast at this point. So thank you to everyone who helps keep it straight.
So I would also just like to make a plea to every single one of our listeners at this point. Please never stop listening to this show because we will never gain another new listener, because I think people coming to this show as a new listener, it's just incoherent. So we'll have to make a pact that nobody can stop listening to the show, and therefore we will maintain our audience forever. Is that fair?
Yeah, but there needs to be a threat involved. Like if you stop listening, something bad happens to us.
We know who you are.
Like if you stop listening, something horrible will happen to us, but we can tell you what.
Oh, maybe we should make the podcast like a chain mail letter thing. Not only can you not stop listening, you have to share this podcast with 10 of your friends, or there's going to be a curse on you.
Ooh.
You know?
I like that. Yes.
Good, right?
I don't love it.
Why? Are you uncomfortable with curses?
A little bit.
Yeah, what's the deal? Have you been cursed
What's
before?
the deal? What's the deal with curses?
Yeah, Stephen, what's your problem with curses? You know?
Have you ever been cursed? Like, do you know?
I don't know. Maybe.
Should find out. You should go to what's the name where you go and hey, tell me if I've been cursed or something.
I don't know.
You know,
What are you doing?
yeah, you go to the guy or the lady, whatever. Like, what's the name of the profession?
Who do I go to if I am cursed?
Help us out, chat room. An oracle?
Kind of like an oracle.
Like a
Come on, there's a name.
fortune teller.
Yes, thank you.
No.
Well,
No, fortune teller tells your fortune. They don't help you with curses. The clue's in the
like,
name,
what's
you know?
the name of the person that does like the tarots, the cards, for example?
Well, that's a fortune teller.
Right. So I'm thinking of
But
that.
do they know about curses?
Well, depending on the cards, they may tell you that you've cursed.
But they can't do anything about it, though, right?
Well,
Well, I don't know.
Look, it's like going to the doctor, right? You have to see your general practitioner, and then they send you to a specialist.
So what you're saying is fortune tellers are the general practitioners of curses.
Yes. And
Okay.
then you go
Well,
see
what
the
I can tell
to go
oracle.
to a specialist.
So what I can tell you is that when I was little, my mom went. So I don't believe in any of this stuff, okay? But my mom, for whatever reason, she does or used to. So when I was little, like very little, like 7, I think. So she went to one of these, Connor. It's like one of these fortune tellers or whatever.
Just say it, just say how you feel,
Yeah.
Who's cursed now,
basically
buddy?
So when she came back home, I was like, what did the wizard or whatever tell you? And so this guy asked for like 100 euros, and the response was that my mom has really bad luck when it comes to traffic and parking her car. Like, that's everything the guy told her.
Doesn't everybody?
I mean,
It's extremely generic.
When she arrived for the appointment, he did see her crash the car. It was like, I know what's her deal.
That's like going in and be like, one day next week, you will wake up tired.
The worst part is that my mom was so sure that he was right. It's like, oh, he's totally right. I have so much bad luck when it comes to finding a parking spot everywhere I go. I was like, Mom, it's like that's just normal for normal people. Like, that happens all the time. No, but I'm especially unlucky when it comes to driving around and finding a parking spot. Yeah, that's my experience with these folks.
Just before we move on, I have a secondary question I would like to ask you both.
Okay.
Just because I feel like it's in the vein. And you could just yes or no. That's all I'm asking for, all right?
Does this count for the quiz?
I don't think it can.
Okay.
The question is, do you believe in ghosts? You see, like, I don't feel like I can score this.
No.
Federico?
Yeah. Yeah,
You do?
ghosts
Okay.
I do, yeah.
All right, I don't want any more. I'm no too, but that's all I wanted, right? I just feel like we're entering this paranormal world together. I just want to set some stakes,
No, big time. Yeah, ghosts, big time, man. Yeah. I don't believe some other things, but ghosts, yeah. I mean, what else you gonna do when you die? Just hang around, you're invisible. That's so cool.
No, that's just it. Yeah, you're done. I mean, it depends on what you believe. I believe
Have you
That's
seen
it.
Have you seen Casper the movie? That's exactly
He
what
was
they
a
look
friendly
like.
ghost.
I have seen it. Casper, the friendliest ghost you know. On capture training, remember we were talking about capture training?
What a pivot.
I know. Jose wrote in to say, which was a good reminder, the original Google Capture helped train their OCR algorithms when they were doing their library project to scan every book in the world. Do you remember that? It used to show you like weirdly printed words and you had to write down what they were.
Yeah.
And now we just have to say, this is a stop sign, this is a stop sign, because they're trying to train their Waymo cars. On the Hackett number, Sarah wrote in and asked, do Apple TVs contribute to the Hackett number? They're not laptops or desktops, not iPods or iPhones, which have been counted. iPhones and iPods have hard drives, so do Apple TVs.
I mean, if Apple forgets about tvOS, I feel like we can also forget about the Apple TV.
I don't think it should count, but I did just want to know how many Apple TVs Stephen has. That's why I wanted to ask this question.
So last year, in the report that Kate gave us last week, I had told you how many Xserves and Apple TVs and a bunch of other stuff. Mm-hmm. The Hackett number is as it is calculated on Justin's website. Mm-hmm. But as far as number of Apple TVs, I don't actually know, like probably 4?
Now, this is the question.
I don't know.
Are any of those actually in use, or is it like...
Yeah,
four?
I've got a 4K
Okay.
that's in use.
So one is in use and 3 are old. I'm guessing they're all the old ones, like the big ones.
Yeah. And I have an original, which is cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean, the old big ones. Or do you mean like, what do you mean by original?
The original one looks like a thin Mac Mini.
Yeah, with the silver one.
Yeah, I've got the silver one, and then I've got probably one of each, like the little black pucks.
Oh, all the little black pucks. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Remember it was $99 for a while? That was cool.
No, I don't remember that. Do you remember it was originally called ITV?
Yep. Yes, I do.
I'm really happy that didn't work out for them, because that's a bad name. Apple TV is a better name.
It is.
iWatch. I would like to just ask connected listeners again to help out with a future quiz segment or multiple quiz segments for the Connected Quiz by filling out the Do You Know the Passionate Ones survey. You can find the link in the show notes. I have been very surprised by just how many people have filled it in so far. So I think this is going to be a really good representative sample of connected listeners. To address some follow-up, to address some questions, I'll say, that I've gotten from some listeners who want clarification on the questions. Kind of the point of the way they are written is I want you to answer what you think the answer is. That's kind of the point. Because with this kind of game, the real meta game is that Stephen and Federico have to try and guess what the majority of listeners would say. So I'll give a little bit of context. There's a question where I reference, when you were at school, what was X? And people are saying to me, what do you mean by school? And my answer to them is, whatever you think it means.
Yeah, the whole point of the game is how well we know the listeners.
You got to get into the mindset of the listeners, right? Because in a question like that,
that's right.
It's like, how old do you think our listener base is? Mm-hmm. You know,
and how old do they think we are?
Exactly.
Something I think about a lot.
Very very or not. I don't think it's a middle. I think the majority of our listeners either think we're old or really young. And I don't think anybody thinks you're our age. That's how I think of this.
We also found out that quite a few people think I'm a short person.
You're the tallest of us.
Where did this come up?
Years ago at WWDC, at least like multiple people said, well, you talk slower, obviously because they have smart speed, but also that I'm taller than they expected.
Well, you know, I always thought you were taller.
Yeah, but that's psychological.
Psychologically tall.
So height-wise, Federico is the tallest. Myke is in the middle. I'm the shortest. And I'm 6 feet tall. You guys are both...
I'm a smidge over.
Like, Myke, you're like an inch taller than me. Federico's like an inch taller than you.
By the way, the word I was thinking about before is chiromancer, but that's still wrong, because a chiromancer is someone who predicts a person's future by reading the lines on the palms of their hands. So I was thinking of that word, but it's not the correct profession anyway.
What about necromancer?
Well, that has to do with the death, doesn't it?
Well,
Isn't a necromancer someone who brings the dead back from,
that's what I thought, but it just says here as a dictionary definition, a person who practices necromancy. But I guess what is necromancy? The supposed practice of communicating with the dead, especially in order to predict the future. So again, it's all future based.
So
I
it's
want
all-
someone to tell me if I've had a curse in the past, not if I'm going to have a curse in the future. You know what I mean? Am I currently cursed now? Who's telling me that? No one.
Right. Well, no, there are people who supposedly do that. But I don't know.
But we don't know what they're called.
We don't know what they're called.
This is the problem. We can't find them.
If you are familiar with a person who identifies ongoing curses, let us know.
Are we done with whatever that was?
Yes, it was a good follow-up. Just in case you hadn't already guessed, we recorded this episode very in advance. And so, there could have been so much news, but you're not going to hear about literally any of it. You're going to hear about necromancy.
If only we could know about the future, then
Yes!
See?
We needed to have a necromancer, a chiromancer, and a fortune teller. This is like a start of a joke on this episode.
And also a chiropractor because my back is a bit stiff at the moment. That wouldn't be too bad either. But yeah.
For the record, we're recording this the day after episode 403. It's hard to do two of these in a row, but we're going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Pocket Casts. How good is the app you're currently using to listen to this very podcast? Does it do things like mix your music and podcasts into one confusing experience? Does it have all the features you need? Is it thoughtfully designed by people who listen to podcasts each and every day? If not, it's time to try something new. Pocket Cast is built by podcast listeners for podcast listeners. No matter how you listen to podcasts, they have you covered. Pocket Cast seamlessly syncs your listening progress across iOS, Android, and the web. It supports Amazon Alexa and Sonos smart speakers. And with CarPlay, Android Auto, and even Android Automotive support, you can listen in your car too. You can enjoy the vibrant, constantly updated discovery section so you can find your next podcast with ease. Pocket Cast has Apple Watch support, including offline playback for when you're jogging without your phone, plus AirPlay and Chromecast support too. It's also fun to check out your listening history and stats. And this is a clever feature. It automatically rewinds podcasts a teeny tiny bit if it's been a while since you listened, so you can catch up more easily. I love the design of Pocket Cast. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. The use of color and big artwork, it just looks great. And you being able to use it on any platform is really cool. It's completely free to use, but as a listener of this show, you can get some exclusive benefits. Go to pocketcasts.com/connected to download Pocket Cast and redeem a 6-month free trial of all the premium features in Pocket Cast Plus.
That's a good deal. 6 months?
And if you're already a Pocket Cast user, but you haven't tried Plus out yet, you too can redeem this offer. Just go to pocketcast.com/connected to find out more. Our thanks to Pocket Cast for their support of Connected and Relay FM.
Some weeks ago in episode 397, we did a impromptu tier list ranking of iPads. Right? It was iPads that we did, wasn't it? No, iPods.
iPods.
Oh, iPods.
iPods.
I didn't just get that wrong. I forgot. It was iPods.
Ooh, I had COVID.
Leave me alone. I got COVID. I had it. And now we're going to do iPhones. So we are going to rank. This was a point. Me and Stephen had a conversation about this, and I think he allowed my thinking to go forward here. Was we will rank every single iPhone model, all of them. We're using a tier maker list, as we did before. We're going to have Stephen share his screen with Federico and I, so we can see this together, and we will put a screenshot in the show notes of the completed tier list when it's done. Stephen, would you like to boot up the screen sharing and we can get this rocking and rolling? So, this is all of them, right? We're doing all the phones, including
fun.
all of them, all of the 6 models. Stephen was like, should we do, and this is this is just a whatever. My thinking was, say, for example, the 6 and 6 Plus, very different phones.
Yeah.
So these aren't, I will say, this is not in great order here. We might have to reorder this a little bit as we go.
Probably jump around a little bit. And they're,
Yeah,
I mean, the best of our knowledge, none of these are missing, but we'll do our best.
I did a scan through, and it looked complete to me.
Okay.
So, should we go in order? Like, we'll go.
Yeah.
How would you guys like to do this? Would you like to go in historical order?
Yeah.
So this list has 2G as the original. So the original iPhone. So we're going to go S to D again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does anyone want to open the bidding?
S tier, baby. It's the first one.
Original iPhone is S tier. I mean, it's the original one. So, it's the phone that started a revolution.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, it's S tier. Now, obviously, by today's standard, it's
It doesn't even make this list. It doesn't even have apps.
look, it's got web apps, okay?
Yeah.
And finally, iOS 16 Beta 2 makes web apps that go full screen work nicer.
I've said this, and I don't know if it's true. Did the original iPhone get the App Store?
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the year after.
Okay.
The year after.
I couldn't remember if that was 3G only. I
No.
couldn't remember.
It did have pretty short software support. I think iOS 3 is the last version it got. I don't think it got iPhone OS 4. But yeah, I mean, Federico's right. Like, it started the whole thing. It was incredible. I mean, if you used a smartphone before this, you know that they were nothing like the iPhone, and now everything is like the iPhone. So I think S tier it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me personally, like, I don't want to rank too many of these on their, like, historicalness.
Oh,
but this one definitely.
Yeah, but I guess a good way to approach it is in the context of the era when it came out. Was it a great product? And what kind of impact did it have later? Because otherwise, obviously, like, the latest iPhones are the best ones. But that's just from a technological point of view. Like, yeah, it's got better camera, better software, it's faster, battery lasts longer, better display. But I think it's more important to consider the big picture of these devices, like we did with the iPods. Let's say S tier for now.
I don't think this one's going to move from there, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see.
All right, next.
iPhone 3G.
So this is a weird one. So the 3G, so we never officially got the original iPhone in Italy. If you wanted to get an original iPhone, you needed to purchase one on eBay, which is what my boss, my one and only boss in my life at the time, did. He bought a couple of American iPhones that you needed to unlock to work on the Italian network. And if you want to do that, you needed to do the first version of the jailbreak, which you guys remember Installer on the original iPhone? Like before Cydia, there was Installer. Yeah. Then the following year, we got the iPhone 3G. I never bought an iPhone 3G. I stuck with the original iPhone,
Okay.
and then I got the 3GS the year later. So I never got the 3G myself.
I had a 3G. I had the original, and then I had 3G. We could get the original. What I'll say for the 3G is, obviously, it got 3G, which was a huge deal, speed-wise.
And GPS.
And that's what I was going to say. That was a massive deal, the GPS, because I got my iPhone 3G 3 days before I went on my first, like, trip on my own as an adult. I went to Paris. Knowing that I was going to be able to look on a map and know which way I was pointing was a huge deal to me. So, like, I rate this one quite high. I don't think it's higher than B tier, but you could say, like, because I'm sure we're going to have a lot of conversation compared to the 3G to the 3GS soon. Mm-hmm. But the 3G, I think, was a big deal because of adding both 3G speeds and GPS. I think that made it pretty important.
I would back up a B tier. It also brought the headphone jack flush, which was a big annoyance with the first iPhone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I think B tier is good. It showed that Apple could rapidly innovate on the phone, right? Having 3G networking out a year later was a big deal.
With a new design.
Yeah.
Different design, yeah.
A year later, we got the 3GS. The first time Apple had an S phone, first time they recycled a design. This added a faster processor for the first time. It also included a compass and pretty basic video recording. I did not have I don't think I had a 3G, but I did have a 3GS. I had it in white. Remember that? You could get it in white. It was great, but it definitely, I feel like it falls short of the 3G. Even though it added a lot more stuff, like again, year on year, I don't think it was as big of a deal as the 3G. And I don't know. Like I enjoyed my time with it, but
I'd like to offer a correction to myself. I said that the iPhone 3G let me know what way I was facing. It didn't. It showed me where I was on the map. It needed the compass to tell me which way I was facing.
Right.
So I didn't get that until later.
Which is wild that they didn't ship at the same time, but I guess that is what it is.
Yeah, but still, just the GPS was a huge deal, right? Anyway, like you could see where you were on the map. The 3GS is the only iPhone I skipped.
It was the first iPhone that I bought with my own money, and I loved the 3GS. I have so many fond memories of the 3GS because it's also the phone that I started really doing Mac stories with. And so I remember I have all these memories of all these apps that I was testing on the iPhone, and I needed to write all these reviews because I had just started the website. And so I was really going wild with installing apps from the App Store, and the App Store was so young. I loved the 3GS, and especially because it was my, I could do video, and the first version of Google Maps. Man, those, I don't think the 3GS is S tier. I would push for an A tier, but I could accept also a B tier, maybe high B tier. What are you guys leaning?
I don't think it could break B tier, to be honest.
Let's do B.
That's because I think it added enough on top of the 3G that the 3G added on top of the 2G. And I don't think either of them really break out, especially when we're about to talk about the iPhone 4.
Okay. All right. So we can give B tier to the 3GS. iPhone 4. And we're now in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a before and after the iPhone 4. The before is obviously the leak. The iPhone that was lost in a bar, found pictures, and the unit itself given to Gizmodo, who published an article, and Steve Jobs got upset, and then the police got involved, and it was a whole story. And famously, this is still when Apple was announcing new iPhones in June. And so Steve Jobs joked on stage, like, stop me if you've seen this before, but trust me, you really haven't seen it yet. But that was a wild story. And the iPhone itself, to me, I will just come right out and say it. This is, to me, an S tier iPhone. The seeing for the first time the Retina display was incredible. I remember being one of the first people in Viterbo who got an iPhone 4, and I remember my friends asking me if they could just look at the display and try out the camera to see what it was gonna look like.
Was also the first phone with a gate. It was antenna gate. Was the iPhone 4?
Yeah, we had that. We had the issue with the white finish not shipping until the very end. We had issues with the proximity sensor. They had a couple software updates to fix all that. It definitely had a bit of a marred entry. I think a lot of people would say that it's the most beautiful iPhone or one of the most beautiful iPhones, and it brought the Retina display. I think it's A tier, if not S.
I would push for an S tier. Also the design of the iPhone 4, it influenced the 4S, the 5S, and the SE, right? And then
the 13.
And then it came back in
12.
fashion again. So the iPhone, I think the iPhone 4 is a clear sort of, moment in Apple's history, which is this is an iconic design that has, aged very well. It's back in fashion again. But also at the time, it felt like such an incredible upgrade from the 3GS. And it ruined the older iPhones. Once you saw that display, it ruined everything else.
I think it's an S tier.
I think it's an S tier because of what it was at the time and the story, the leak and the antenna gate and the special press conference for antenna and the bumpers. Remember the free bumper? You get
free bumper was awesome. That was a
free
great
bumper.
little case. Never a better iPhone case than the bumper. And you can still try and get them today, but they just don't work as well. You know, like that was the best iPhone case. It was the perfect case.
Up next, we have the 4S, which was the first fall release iPhone. And again, recycling the design of the 4, this phone brought Siri with it. And remember, like Siri was just locked to the 4S, and eventually it came to the iPad, and like they slowly rolled it out across their devices. But it was the 4S sort of helped cement the pattern, right? 3G, 3GS, 4, 4S, 5, 5S, and they were in that pattern for quite a long time. It's a solid phone. It's also the phone. No, the 4 is what there was a Verizon version of the iPhone 4. The 4 was the first time it was beyond AT&T here in the US.
But it was like halfway through, right? It wasn't immediate.
But yeah, the 4S is a solid phone, but it definitely lives in the shadow of the 4 in a big way.
This means nothing really, but this was announced the day before Steve died, right? Like this doesn't make a difference for the tier list. It doesn't make it like a D tier phone, but
Remember that people thought it was called 4S because it meant for Steve? Personally, it was a fine phone, but like Siri, it still is kind of terrible for a lot of things.
I mean, it was fine. Like Siri
It was
fine,
okay.
right?
It
Like
was
Siri was
okay.
fine.
It was okay, but I also remember a ton of people getting upset that the iPhone 4 did not get Siri, just like people are upset now the stage manager is for M1 iPad only.
That's not a thing that people get upset about. I would say C tier.
Yeah.
There's not, this is not really notable. I feel like the other phones that we've mentioned, I don't really feel like, but it's not bad. It was perfectly fine for the time, but like looking back, I don't think it's mega exciting.
I mean, what else was new besides Siri? Like a better camera?
I think it had better video in particular.
It had an 8 megapixel camera with a 1080p video recording. It was also it also had a A5. It wasn't the iPhone 4. We didn't mention this, right? It was the first Apple A branded chip.
Yeah, I would agree with the 4S getting the C tier. It's not really D tier because it wasn't a terrible phone, but it was an okay update. So C tier, good for me, I think.
All right, up next we have the iPhone 5. The first time an iPhone got a bigger display. Remember, it was the same horizontally, but it grew vertically. Oh, yeah. And it brought LTE, and it brought a revised design with an aluminum back. So they got rid of the glass back from the 4 and 4S, so it weighed a lot less. I remember the primary thing about the iPhone 5 was you picked it up and it felt fake. It just didn't weigh anything. It was really cool, and came in silver and white, but also came in slate, which is like this really cool dark black color. And it was before the space gray era, but I thought the black, the slate iPhone 5 looked really cool.
And it was the first iPhone with a lightning port.
Yeah. I was about to say I have no recollection of this generation of iPhones besides the lightning connector. Like I didn't really like the design of the 5 and the 5S. I thought it felt kind of cheap because it was so much lighter than I didn't really like the aluminum back. I don't have a ton of fond memories for this one.
As you can imagine, I loved it because the screen got bigger. So I was a big fan of this phone. I mean, I'm not one of the people, like there are some people that say that this is the best looking iPhone ever made. I'm not one of those people. But I think that this phone is good for these reasons, right? LTE, bigger screen, lightning connector. Like It also had a much better camera, the Sony 8 megapixel camera. I mean, I would say this for me starts at a B.
Yeah, I was thinking B, or maybe we break the seal in the A tier.
I would be happy with it going into A, but I think it would be tricky because Federico seems to really not like it.
For the iPhone 5 A tier, let's keep it in B tier and we can reevaluate.
Yeah.
Okay, it's B tier. It is.
We have an A tier coming up anyway, so
5C. No.
No. Yes, I'm serious.
Oh, I am 100% thinking the 5C is our first D tier phone.
What? No.
Why?
This is like
why?
It was incredible and weird. The one time that Apple did something weird, we're not rewarding them for doing so. It came in colors and it was plastic.
Made bad decision, like just bad decisions. The case with the none in it.
That's small
stupid.
detail.
Yes.
Stupid.
Yes. No.
Stupid.
It was
Stupid.
great. It was like
avoidable. So avoidable.
No,
Just
no.
don't put the holes on that area.
No, it was the
So
Crocs iPhone. No, it looked
No.
incredible, and it was there was a green one.
I don't think I could have this be A tier. Like
Oh my god, this
I
is
don't.
like
This
the iPod Nano all over again.
It is.
This is wild to me. I mean, look, you can outvote me, but I just want to get it on the record.
You hate fun. That's the problem.
No, I love fun, but they ruined this one.
It was also the first time, and really kind of only time, Apple deviated from the old phone gets cheaper, and the 5 went away. The 5S was new. We'll talk about that in a second. The 5C was basically the iPhone 5 in a new enclosure with a slightly updated FaceTime camera.
Mm-hmm.
Assumingly that was because the 5 was too expensive to make, or they needed something cheaper to make at the cheaper end. But it was the only time, and it was super colorful. It came out with iOS 7, and so there was a lot of interplay between like the hardware colors and the wallpapers that were set by default. I agree with Federico. I think it should be rewarded for being unusual.
Yes. I mean, look.
I want to make one final statement, and you can put this wherever you want.
Okay.
I think it is weird to A or S tier a phone that none of us chose to own as our phones.
I skipped this generation entirely. I went from a 4S to a 6.
So you hated all of the 5s.
No, I think that year Mary got a 5S.
Wasn't this when you were on Android?
That's also possible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did the thing.
Yeah, you
where,
did the
didn't
thing.
you do the thing where you used like Droid for a year or something?
I had a Palm Pre and a Droid.
Droid. Yeah, you did that. Was it called 512 at the time, or was it still Fork Bomber?
I think it was Fork Bomber then. It probably was Fork Bomber.
It may have been Fork
Yeah.
Bomber.
So where are we putting this?
So Myke doesn't want to do A tier. He wanted to do D tier. No, we're not doing D tier.
No,
I mean,
we
I
don't
know
have to do D tier.
I know what we're doing D tier for personally.
Oh, me too. I have a bunch of D tiers already
Yeah.
scanned out in my. Oh, it's gonna be great. There's gonna be a real valley of D tier for a while.
I think we go B tier as a compromise.
I would be perfectly fine with that.
But it's an A tier in our hearts.
Okay. Yes.
That's
yes.
fine.
All right. Yeah, we'll go with B.
So we skipped the 5S. So
What was the 5S? I honestly don't remember.
Touch ID.
Touch ID.
64-bit
Oh my God.
A7.
the M7 motion coprocessor.
Oh yeah, I was into that.
Came in gold
Yeah.
for the first time. Solid phone. If you didn't like the 5 design, it didn't change at all. But Touch ID was the first like biometric security on an iPhone, right? I think the 5S should be pretty high.
Yeah.
So I will make a pitch here, just like not to put it in a ranking, but just as like a thing. I think that Touch ID was as big and important to the iPhone as the Retina display.
I don't disagree.
I don't think this is S
I
tier.
wouldn't say S tier. I think this is my first A tier phone.
Agreed.
Now that you reminded me of what it was with Touch ID and the M7, all the new generation of fitness apps like Pedometer Plus came out in this era, I think, because of the M7.
It did. This was the first 64-bit, dual-core system on a chip with the A7. This phone was a big deal. Plus, I mean, if we put the 5C as B tier, right, like this has to be higher.
Let's go. Let's go iPhone 5C. Yes. This is not S tier because like I don't exactly remember like off the top of my head what was new in the 5S.
No, I don't think this is an S tier.
But now that you mention it, it is A tier. At the time, it was a great upgrade. Yeah, now I remember.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by SourceGraph. So you've hired a new brilliant developer. That's really awesome, but now you have to work to get them onboarded. If your company is growing, onboarding new developers is going to be a common occurrence, but it's a big undertaking each time. Because one of the biggest challenges for new hires is getting up to speed with the project their new team is working on. This can be tricky if the code bases your developers are working in are already large. Thankfully, SourceGraph makes it easy to move quickly even in big code bases. Developers know that knowledge is the most useful when it can be found. Centralization is helpful, but given the fact that most companies store knowledge in at least 2 different locations, how do you make knowledge accessible to those who need it? SourceGraph is a code intelligence platform, and it gives developers what they need to drive their own learning over time and in different situations. Teams without SourceGraph need to rely on asking colleagues or reviewing out-of-date documentation, which is cumbersome and time-consuming. With SourceGraph, every developer can search across millions of repositories to find specific code, saving time for themselves and everyone else. So when questions do come up, you know it's the big stuff that's worthy of the extra time. SourceGraph was created to make developers' lives easier. And today they work with leading companies across every industry, including 3 out of the 5 top tech companies, plus companies like PayPal, Uber, Plaid, GE, Reddit, Atlassian, and more. Visit about.sourcegraph.com to learn more. That's about.sourcegraph.com to find out why some of the biggest tech companies in the world use SourceGraph and to see what SourceGraph can do for yours. Check out the link in the show notes to let them know you heard about them from us. Our thanks to SourceGraph for their support of Connected and Relay FM.
All right, so next in the list, we're now in 2014, iPhone 6. So iPhone 6, a couple of things. Brand new design. And the first time that Apple is selling the new iPhone in 2 versions. This marks the debut of the Plus family of devices. So we have the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, which is the bigger one, which also marked the start of the Plus Club, as it was known at the time. So the iPhone 6, and I'm pulling up the specs here. So the base model iPhone 6 was what kind of display was it? 4.7
inches.
And the Plus was 5.5.
5.5.
Yeah, 5.5. So it was a 1080p display on the 6 Plus, and brand new design with the rounded edges. This is the kind of design that's gonna be around for a while. Touch ID, better camera, front-facing cameras now doing 720p video recording. There's an 8 megapixel camera on the back. What else was worth noting on the 6 family?
I think that's about it.
It was a huge sales spike for Apple. There was so much pent-up demand for larger iPhones.
Yes.
And they struggled with that for years to come because the 6 was such a huge high point. Phone sales for a while after that looked bad in comparison. And they eventually sort of righted the ship with Wall Street, but it was this huge explosion. I don't love the design, and I think it's aged pretty poorly in terms of how it looks.
And it started a just terrible time of iPhone design.
With the rounded edges and...
Just the iPhone 6 design stuck around for so long.
Yeah.
Like, it's still around, right?
Yeah, the
like,
SE still uses the same basic design.
So I think 6D.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't
Because
disagree.
6 Plus.
A.
Right?
A.
S. That's where I am, baby.
I actually disagree with this. Okay, so let's handle the 6 first. I don't think we can give it a D. I think D is truly terrible.
Yeah, well, look what it did, right? Design-wise, the iPhone was so boring for so long.
But we didn't know that at the time, right? I'm
but
not
we're
saying
not
we have to
ranking it
judge
how
it
we
in
knew it
time.
at the time.
I'm not saying we do.
Really?
But I think that it deserves a benefit of a doubt above a D. I am willing to put it in C.
Okay, you know what? Put it in C because then I know where we're putting the 7. All right, for many good reasons. And I say 6 plus. 6 plus is an S tier.
A tier.
No, it's A. It had a critical flaw. Do you remember the problem with the 6 Plus?
What, the bending?
There was the bending, but it didn't have enough memory, and so it was slow compared to the other phones. I think 6S Plus is S tier. I think 6 Plus is probably A.
Yeah, because the 6 Plus it didn't have enough memory for the downscaling that the display was doing.
Okay. The only reason I went with it is because it was the first big one. That was why I wanted to put it in S. So it's like it's slightly historical. But you know what? I think that actually works pretty well. Let's put 6 Plus in A, and let's just straight away just put 6S Plus in S. Like that's taken care of, right? Like,
yeah, I loved the 6S Plus. Like,
such a great phone.
Yeah.
I don't normally do this, but I want to read something from my review of the 6S Plus just for some context. I'm also really happy with how this reads years later. So the 6 Plus wasn't perfect. With just 1 gigabyte of RAM, it struggled under load. It had been years since I saw an iOS device stumble like the 6 Plus could, and I got old quickly. Those extra pixels were just too much for the internals to handle at times. The 6 Plus was kind of like that kid at prom who clearly just borrowed one of his dad's suits. It was passable, but not great.
That's funny. I have no memory of this. Like the 6 Plus having this memory. I had no memory of it at all. That's funny. But I like that analogy.
Thank you. I was happy
I'm
with
also checking out, now that you mentioned this, Stephen, I also looked it up, and I also had a story about the 6S Plus called How the 6S Plus is Reshaping My iPhone Experience. And I just remembered that on the 6S Plus, we also got the new Touch ID, second generation Touch ID.
Oh, yeah. It was
on the 6S Plus.
3D Touch.
And 3D Touch.
Which is a feature I still miss.
Yeah, I agree. The iPhone 6S Plus is more than faster chips. It brings a nimble, more productive iOS experience that makes everyday interactions better.
Wow, look at your home screen. Editorial,
Yeah, I know,
Outlook,
right?
Dispatch, To Do. Man, some good stuff in there.
Peek and Pop. Remember Peek and Pop?
Peek and
Pick and
Pop.
pop, baby.
Peek
Our
and
friends,
Pop.
Peek and Pop. So what about the regular 6S then?
So it got the better Touch ID, obviously.
Yeah.
It got the 3D Touch.
Rose gold.
Rose gold, which was actually really good looking at the time.
It was good looking.
4K it could do, the 30 frames per second. A9. Live photos? Come on.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good phone.
So we want to go B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would go
yeah.
B.
Yeah.
Because it's not A, I feel like.
Up next, we have the first iPhone SE, which recycled the 5 and, well, really it recycled the 5S design, but had the guts of the 6S minus 3D Touch. So this was great for people. I mean, remember at this point, like a lot of people still really wanted that smaller phone size. It definitely had its fans, including my spouse, who used an original iPhone SE for a long, long time. But it held the price point open to, I guess. But I'm not particularly excited about any iPhone SE.
So here's the thing with the SE, right? The three of us don't care about this phone at all, right? Like, no, just don't care about it. I know people care about it. I'm not one of these people. The iPhone SE, when it debuted, I guess was good for people who wanted this. But then the problem with it is it stuck around for too long, I feel like.
Yeah, it really got old before the SE2 showed up.
So I feel like for me, any good is weighed out by just how long it stuck around for, which is 4 years.
It kind of overstayed its welcome, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's enough with the original
I
SE.
would say, I mean, so this is the question, right? Are we going to D-tier all the SEs?
I think this one gets a C
No, not the. I wouldn't D tier the latest SE. Would I though?
I would.
Yeah,
Let's get
would.
to that when we get to it. But that's my
Yeah.
question. I mean, for me, if I was gonna rank any of them higher than a D, it would be this one. Like, and we'll put it at a C because like people really dug
I think
it.
it had the most momentum behind it.
Yeah, I mean, and also like if again, this comes in whenever we need it. Historically, it was a weird and odd, and like they brought the name SE to it. What does that mean, and all that kind of stuff. And I'd say we could go C with this one.
Yeah, we can go C.
Okay.
Yeah, but not any higher than that.
I've got one word to describe the next iPhone: courage.
Oh,
The courage to move on
Yep.
from things that some people still want.
this has got to be the easiest
D
for me.
tier. D tier.
D tier.
Yeah.
D tier phone. D tier phone. And I know we're gonna get these nerds who are like, but what about Jet Black? Don't care. I don't care.
It was cool.
The problem with the iPhone 7 was the headphone jack removal.
And yes, that is like 95% of it.
Yep.
But also, they recycled the design for the third time. Mm-hmm. And
Yep.
this was the first time we had seen that.
So it was like, oh, well, that's not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with the headphone jack removal was there was no reason for it. The reason was they were getting rid of it now so they could get ready for the iPhone 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they got rid of it early. Like, they sacrificed the iPhone 7. And I know why they did that. Like, that's fine. But, like, it was just annoying at the time, right?
Look, and honestly, I still feel like it's kind of a silly decision to get rid of the headphone jack. Like, it still comes up. I see this with Sylvia. It still comes up a bunch of times every year that, like, she needs to connect an iPhone with a headphone jack to something. And it's like, I gotta get the adapter. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I love AirPods and would never go back. But at the same time, it's just a strange thing to me to have gotten rid of it. Yeah, so I think this is an easy D tier for that reason. It was just an annoying thing. It made the phone annoying. It was annoying to talk about it at the time. Like, it had good, well, the 7 Plus had some good features.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was the first phone to get a telephoto lens.
Yes.
So I feel like that would bump the 7 Plus up.
Yeah, because the 7 Plus was the first one to have the dual camera.
Yeah, first iPhone with 2 cameras.
I think 7 Plus is A tier.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Solely because of the camera thing, because it showed us what was possible. And Android phones have been doing this for a while. Like, Apple wasn't first, but it showed us iPhone users like, oh, you can really do these other things.
Yeah, you know what? You know why I'll agree with you? Because, I was very much on the bigger screen, and I convinced the two of you, and we all went to bigger screen, and we were the Plus Club, right? And everyone was like, it's stupid with your big phone. And then we got a feature that no other phone got, and it was a really good one, and everyone got really jealous. So I will also agree with A tier for that reason.
Was the 7 Plus also when portrait mode was introduced?
Yes.
Yes, it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
It was
Easy
the
A
first
tier.
one where they did the, like, here's a preview of a feature we're working on,
Yeah, for sure A tier then.
Okay. Now we have talked about the iPhone that everyone forgets. The iPhone 8.
D tier. It's nothing. This phone did nothing.
We turned the glass back for wireless charging, but that's about it.
Yeah. That's nobody. Do we? I honestly feel like there's kind of there must be a conspiracy theory that the iPhone 8 never actually existed.
It's the Mandela effect phone, right?
Yeah. Yes. Do you know anybody who got an iPhone 8?
No.
Me neither. How can we know for sure that the iPhone 8 existed?
It is weird because I feel like not a lot of people would have chosen this phone. They either would have kept their previous phone or got the 10, right? Like, if they were upgrading that year, you'd maybe get a 10 or you would get an 8. Now, I'm sure as many people in the Discord are already telling us the person that they know that had them. I'm not expecting that many, like, people that would listen to this show would necessarily choose an 8. That would surprise me. But maybe it was a price thing, I don't know. Maybe like you could get one for free on a contract.
Yeah, and the 10 was super expensive.
Again, like to mention what you said before, this is now the 4th time we've had this design.
Yeah, I know, D tier. And I would say the same for the 8 Plus.
Yeah, because I don't think it did anything any different.
No. Unlike the 7 Plus, now the features were, we had the telephoto there. These phones, like, why would you? Well, I'm sure there were reasons, but in the grand scheme of things, this has to be one of Apple's lowest points in terms of...
The iPhone 8 existed so they could charge $1,000 for the iPhone 10.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason the iPhone 8 exists, because they couldn't have only made one phone that year and it cost $1,000.
Yeah, still boring.
Boring phone.
Yeah, boring phone. iPhone 10, or let's just face it, iPhone X. That's how people pronounced it for years, and still do.
Yep.
I'm just going to say that for me, this is an S tier iPhone.
I agree with you.
Because because this is like, just like the iPhone 4, this was another clear moment in Apple's history when you look back and you can say in that moment, that device changed things. The notch, the liquid retina display, the new design, the glass back. The one negative aspect of the iPhone 10 was that there was no 10 Plus that year. For that, we would have to wait the following year.
But at least the screen size it like sat in the middle, right, of the two, so it was fine.
Yes. And I remember one of my favorite stories, how I received the iPhone 10. I don't know if you guys remember, but you guys received your iPhone 10s on the Friday, and in that week, there was a national UPS strike in Italy.
I remember. Because I remember how upset you were.
And I was so upset because I
think you
really
just
wanted to get
didn't
one.
respond to messages for a few days because you didn't want to see us talking about our iPhone 10.
I was so upset and I was very jealous of everybody else. Like, I'm just gonna get out of the internet for a few days. And because I wanted to get this phone as quickly as possible on the morning of the Monday after the weekend, I had arranged to get the phone number of the UPS delivery guy, and I called him, and we met in the middle of the street as he was doing other deliveries in my neighborhood in Rome, so just that he could grab the package for me and give it to me like 2 hours before it would
when you
reach
grease
my
the
street.
palm.
Yeah, that's when I
grease
that's
the
where,
palm.
where it all came from. Like, hey, can I get your phone number? In case I need special treatment for some deliveries. Yeah.
In case I need special treatment. I love that. I'm deciding. I mean,
what? You're not
going to
do me a favor? You're not going to do me a favor? Me, such a lovable guy? Come on.
Such a lovable guy.
Man of the people.
So handsome. Mm-hmm.
So, iPhone 10. Great phone.
S tier.
S tier. Easy.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Electric. When you think of the phrase boss move, you might think of making a bold business decision, or maybe giving a great presentation in front of a big crowd. The reality is, sometimes being a boss in a small business means sorting out the orange juice that you spilled on your own keyboard, or helping a staff member setting up their new laptop. The team over at Electric know small businesses, maybe like yours, face these challenges. That's why they've solved this problem for you by operating as your IT department. Instead of spending time sorting through unused application licenses, setting up employee laptops, and answering never-ending IT questions, you can focus on building your empire. With Electric acting as your IT department, you can get back to what you're good at. Plus, you get a really cool IT platform to see and manage everything. Being in a small business means needing to delegate as you grow, and a lot of small business owners who are tech people find it difficult to do this, but Electric is a great partner, and you're going to know that everything is covered with them. For Connected listeners, Electric are offering a free pair of Beats Solo 3 headphones for taking a qualified meeting. Just go to electric.ai/connected. That's electric.ai/connected. Go there now for your free pair of Beats Solo 3 headphones for scheduling a meeting today. Our thanks to Electric for their support of the show and Relay FM.
The iPhone XR.
People thought this was an iPhone 5C, and it It kind of was. I mean, it was colorful. It was cheaper than the 10s and especially the 10s Max. The size was interesting. It was actually in between the two. So it was it was kind of like a slightly bigger iPhone 10, but not as big as the Max. It was the in-between phone. I really liked the 10R and really enjoyed the colors, and I used one for a while. I ultimately, though, missed having the telephoto camera, but I think the 10R is better than people think it is.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I bought it as a gift from my mom at WWDC 2018.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I bought one for my mom.
Yeah. She used it until 6 months ago. Yeah, great.
My
phone.
mom still is on her 10R. I just went to check. Well, iOS 16 run on it, and it will. So great. I don't need to upgrade her because my mom is she just doesn't want to change her phone. She just likes her phone, and she doesn't want to change it. So like, I would love to give her a new iPhone, but it's just easier for me to wait until she can't have the phone anymore, right? So I'm just going to let it go another year or two, I guess. But I bought her the Coral one in a clear case, and she loves it. And it's a great phone. I mean, one of the good things about this phone compared to the 10S was it had better battery life.
Yeah.
Because it was running an LED display.
That's right.
And I know one of the things that people don't like about this phone is that it was 720p, right? And I understand that. Is that right? It was 720, right? Because of the dimensions? I know that the display was a thing.
It was 1792 by 828. So it was a little bigger than 720, but it wasn't 1080.
Yeah. So I know that people
it was the same density as the other LCD iPhones, like the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus or 7 or 6 Plus, but because of its size, people wanted it to be more dense. It's not that it looked worse than previous phones; it just wasn't as good as the OLED.
So I would put this in B tier.
Yeah, I get behind that.
I was gonna go for A tier, but yeah, let's put it in B maybe.
I really like this phone. We have the 5S, the 6 Plus, and the 7 Plus in A tier. I'm not sure the 10R belongs
That was
there.
my thought too.
Like, I really like this phone, but I don't think that it deserves that.
Okay.
iPhone 10s.
It's a D tier for me.
Well, I would like to know why.
Horrible camera.
Camera.
Bad,
The
bad
HDR
camera.
in particular was so bad.
Photos from that era in my library, they look horrible. And we had an episode about this, I remember, of Connected.
We did.
Where Stephen and I complained. Myke was sort of okay, I think, at the time with it.
I didn't have the same feelings, but I know it was something that lots of people felt. But like for me, I didn't experience that. But I know this was a problem a lot of people had with the phone.
Yeah.
So I would have no problem putting it as a D tier. I mean, because really, it didn't add a lot. So it was faster. It had dual SIM support and better water resistance. Like that was. Oh well, yeah. So the 10s. What we maybe we'll feel we would rate the 10s Max a little higher because it was bigger.
I think the Max is C,
But it was still a horrible camera.
But we got a bigger screen.
but it was bigger.
Again.
Well, we can go C tier because it grew bigger than before.
Yeah.
But yeah, C for the 10s Max and D for the 10s. Yeah,
Because I know that was why I liked this phone particularly, the Max one, because
it was bigger than before. So from 5.5,
we got to go back to the larger. The iPhone 10s Max had
5.7.
I'm trying to find it now, man. This what I wish that Wikipedia had like consistent ways that they mark this information. 5.8
and 6.5 for the Max.
Yeah.
Okay, 6.5.
It's a big old screen, that one.
Mac Tracker, baby. It's all there.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Up next, we have the iPhone 11. So this is the mainstream phone for this year, starting at $699. 6.1-inch LCD, so the same display as the iPhone 10R, but it had dual cameras. So it had the regular wide camera, and then the second camera was this the ultra wide?
Yeah, it was the ultra wide on the 11.
I feel like this is anecdotal, but that's all I got. I feel like I didn't see a lot of 10s and 10Ss out in the world, but I feel like all of a sudden the 11 was just everywhere, like even more so than the 10R.
It's because they had a phone at the standard, well, not the standard, it was at a lower price point.
Yeah, because the 10R started at $749 and the 11 started at $699. So this was okay, the mainstream phone now has Face ID for realsies.
A13, you mentioned the ultra wide, which was a good thing. This came in a bunch of great colors, including that purple, that mid-cycle purple.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good C-tier phone, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. iPhone 11 C tier, I think I'm fine with that. I think I had one. I think Sylvia maybe used an iPhone 11. So the iPhone 11 family still had the curved edges though, right?
Yeah, the last breath of that design.
Yeah, so glass back but with the curved edges. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And it came, why do I remember the red version? Was something different about it? That maybe the red version was available at launch this time?
I think so.
I think it was, yeah, because the purple came
Yeah.
halfway through.
So iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max. First time that we're seeing the triple camera system.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of fond memories for the 11 Pro Max because that's the phone that allowed me to do the photographic tour of Rome during the day and at night. The ultra-wide camera still feels like a great innovation on a phone. Like it's such a fun thing to experiment, and some scenes and some subjects they lend themselves very well to the ultra wide camera. I personally feel like 11 Pro Max is A tier and 11 Pro is B tier, or also maybe both A tier. I could also go with that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm struggling with this one a little bit, but I don't know why. I think maybe I just don't really have a lot of particular feelings about this. I guess I would be happy with A, actually, because of the 3-camera system. The 3-camera system was a big deal, and I don't think that there's any reason to break these up from each other.
Right, because these add feature parity between them, and the only difference was the size. And I mean, we were all now. This is what, 3 years ago that we're talking, so it's 2019. But we all had fun at the time with ultra wide shots. It was a thing for a while, you know.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Too bad about the curved edges. That's gonna get fixed with the next phones. But yeah, A tier for the 11 Pro and Pro Max. I think it feels good.
SE2. It's the iPhone 8 design, but inside it is it's all new with the A13 Bionic from the iPhone 11.
No.
D tier.
D.
Yep.
Stop. Just
Who
enough.
wants to see this design now? You know what I mean? And this was back in 2020.
Sylvia's mom has this phone, and it looks and feels so old. Like so many things of iOS are now so different. Like even the way you activate Control Center. Like using this phone is horrible. And I know because I had to set it up for her with the App Store and family sharing and all that kind of stuff. It's a bad phone. It's old. It's like, hey, do you want to have this phone that looks like 8 years ago? Sure, here you go. No, thank you.
We are now up to the iPhone 12 family, and I think we go in order of size. So let's start with the 12 mini down at the bottom.
I'm going to go ahead and say honorary A tier just because a ton of people love it. And those who have one,
I don't want to get the tweets. So we might as well just do it because every iPhone 12 user will speak about the mini. Like all 5 of them, like they will all tweet you,
Look,
and
they
I just
love
don't want to
it,
get
okay?
those 5 tweets. Yeah, let them love it. I mean, because they're about to get real sad, right? So like we might as well just let them have it. So.
Yes, exactly. They're about to they're going to have a rough second half of the year,
Yeah.
I think. So let's just give it the A tier.
Give them something,
Yeah.
iPhone 12. I mean, so all these phones, we should back up. All these phones have the flat-sided design. The mini and the regular have aluminum, where the Pro phones have steel bands. I actually think the aluminum looks better, but even though I carry a Pro phone, I think the look is nicer with the aluminum. All of these are OLED, so LCD is officially out of the line for new phones now, which I think it's great that they were able to bring this across the entire lineup.
Mm-hmm.
The 12, I think, is probably B or C. I feel like it's not
Oh, I put it as an A tier.
really the regular 12.
The 12?
Yeah,
The 12.
OLED on the regular phone is awesome. MagSafe.
Yeah, MagSafe. The colors were also pretty good.
Yep.
And I think you were confused. I think the purple was mid-cycle on the 12, not the 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. HDR video.
Yeah.
On the base model 12?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a pretty good phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a great phone.
So B? A or B?
I would put it as an A tier phone.
And yeah, it feels like one. 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. So, if I remember this correctly,
S tier.
the 12 Pro Max marked the return of the feature differences between the Pro Max camera and the Pro camera.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it didn't end up being as big a deal as we thought it was going to be,
But it was something.
but it was something.
What was it?
'Cause they had the big sensor in the Pro Max.
That's right. So Mike, you said S tier for both.
I think the iPhone 12 is the best iPhone ever made. Like the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max.
Why not the 13 Pro?
Because I think that the 12 Pro was so striking, like so awesome looking, and had this great set of features. And then the 13 just kind of like added to it. Like, like when you think about the best ever, like as we're talking about it here, sometimes you got to put in a bit of history, right? Where like the 13 is really just a small improvement over the 12. But like the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, 5G, LiDAR.
Oh yeah,
Like
5G.
LiDAR I don't care about. 5G is actually a good
5G.
feature, like if you have it. Like MagSafe, it got the incredible gold, like which I just think is like the best looking phone they've ever.
Yeah.
Like,
I could S tier both of these.
I think that the 12 line is an S tier line of phones. I just think they nailed it.
I'm trying to remember now because in my mind, the 12 Pro and 13 Pro lines kind of blend together because of the pandemic.
Yes.
But now that you mentioned it, I do feel like I prefer the 12 Pro, if only because it was striking at the time.
Yeah.
And because in my mind, it's kind of weird, but in my mind, I still have the 12 Pro Max, but no, I have the 13 Pro Max, which is also saying something, I guess. But yeah, I can go with that. S tier, both
I
of
think
them.
it's fantastic. I just think this is a fantastic phone. Like, I love it. Like, this is the only phone for me where I was like, the whole time I had it, I'm like, this just still continues to look good.
Yeah.
Like I took the case off and I became caseless because I love the look of this phone so much, And again, when the iPhone 13 Pro rolled around and it looked the same, I was fine with it because I thought that the phone looked so good. Like, I think it's the best looking phone Apple's ever made. For me, it's like very tippy top.
Look at that. It does look nice without a case.
So where does that leave the 13 line? We've got mini, regular, Pro, and Pro Max.
So
Better cameras, better processor, but not really game changing.
slightly smaller notch, maybe?
Very slightly
Not in a
smaller
way
notch.
you'd know. Yeah.
What else is new?
A15.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
A15.
The 13 Pro, right? So just to try and break it down, the 13 Pro is a big deal because of promotion, which me and Federico really care about. Stephen, not so much.
Yeah, I've got it turned off.
Yeah, yes.
The 13 is good. Like, it's a good improvement. Like, I would say, because I think to rank these, we might have to do them a little bit out of order, if you don't mind. Like, I think
Yes.
13 Pro and 13 Pro Max are A tier.
Yes. I think I know where you're going. Yeah.
The iPhone 13,
Yeah.
B.
B tier.
Yes. and 13 mini C tier.
C tier, because like I think they all just go down.
Yeah. Perfect.
The last phone we have on here is the iPhone SE third generation, which is not on this list. Yeah, there's another one.
Wait, there's another one?
It got 5G.
D tier. Goodbye.
Honestly, the fact that it's not in this screenshot is perfect because like it doesn't even deserve to be on the list.
No,
it's just like
no.
whatever, man. You do you.
So D tier?
Yeah, it's D tier. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be D tier. We have now reached the final form of this tier list. In S tier, let's see how we feel about this again. Original iPhone, iPhone 4, iPhone 6s Plus, iPhone 10, iPhone 12 Pro, and iPhone 12 Pro Max.
I think we got that completely correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like I'm looking at the thumbnails. Like, I feel like, especially if you consider the 12 Pro and Pro Max the same phone, each of them represents a major shift in the iPhone history. Original iPhone, iPhone 4, 6s Plus, and the Plus is specifically because we mentioned the performance issues of the S Plus the year prior, the 10, and then the 12 Pro. Yeah, I feel very good about this. And in D tier, let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. In D tier, we have the iPhone 7, the iPhone 8, the iPhone 8 Plus, the 10s, the ST second generation, and the ST third generation.
So I think the biggest spread we have is 7 to 7 Plus, right?
Yeah.
Because 7 is D, 7 Plus is A. I don't think we have a bigger...
Look, these phones in D tier, they had it coming. If they didn't want to be in D tier, they maybe shouldn't have been boring phones. But yeah, especially the iPhone 8, man. The iPhone 8 is rough. I'm sorry, iPhone 8 owners. I guess you like it, but it's not a good phone.
Something we didn't mention about like why the 10s Max is very firmly in C tier is its name.
10s Max.
10s Max. That is a terrible name for a phone.
These are the phones that we knew about with the leak from Apple's CDN, right? 9to5Mac found the images and the names before.
And people said, surely that's not the name.
Surely they're not calling it iPhone 10s Max.
Because these were the images where they obscured the notch.
Yes.
Yes.
They had like the swooping black wallpaper.
Yeah. It was like a planet, right? Like they had like different planets on them, and it took up. Was it that one? And it took up like half the screen, or is it, I'm thinking of a different one?
I think so.
But they did that for a while. They don't seem to really do that anymore, which I think is the right move.
Let's do one more thing, if you guys will allow me here. Look at the S tier, and each of us, we pick an absolute favorite from the S tier.
I mean, I've already spoiled mine. It's the 12 Pro Max.
12 Pro Max?
It is the happiest I have been with an iPhone since the original. And like the original, I was happy because it was the first one. But like the 12 Pro Max just gave me everything I was looking for. I was so excited, except for the ProMotion display, but that wasn't enough of a knock. Like that was on the edge that year.
I'm gonna go with I'm torn between the 6s Plus and the 10. I'm gonna go with the 10. I just love that thing so much.
I agree. I'm going to go with the 10 as well.
It really felt like the future, didn't it? It was awesome.
It felt so cool.
Yeah.
And it was the first time in a long time where like the phone was like really exciting, because like the 6S and the 7, like they were just there. A lot of it was the design, I think, with the aluminum back and like the antenna lines and stuff. But yeah, the 10 felt like the future. I mean, using Face ID felt so cool.
It felt impossible, really. Like it felt like we were not supposed to get that phone for another 2 years, but we got it. And so, yeah.
Man, it looks so good in white too, with the stainless steel. Chef's
I think
kiss.
I had the black one. Which was kind of brown, right? Was that the one that was brown, or was it the 10S that was kind of a brownie color?
That was the stupid 10S that also looked brown.
It was like chocolatey brown. Yeah, it was weird. You can see an image of our ranked tier list. I've got a screenshot in the show notes. If you want to find links to stuff we spoke about, head on over to the website, relay.fm/connected/404. Links are also in your podcast player. You can find them in there. When you're on the website, though, you can send us an email with feedback or follow-up, or you can join and get Connected Pro, which is a longer, ad-free version of the show each and every week. You can find us all online. You can find Federico on Twitter as Viticci, Viticci, and he's the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. You can find Myke online as IMYKE, and Myke hosts a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM. You can follow me on Twitter as ISMH and find my writing at 512pixels.net. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Pocket Casts, SourceGraph, and Electric. Until next time, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.